I guess we can. I guess maybe we can delve into the spoiler portions and start actually discussing the meat of the movie.
Do you just want
Um,
to give a brief so the
you turned into a robot there,
plot
Jonathan.
before we discuss any
He became T-Pain.
like my programming was somebody word in a specific order and I turn into a robot. That's someone said freight
Freight
car
car.
17.
Homecoming.
Yeah. Did anybody else did
Freight
anyone else
car.
notice that little Easter egg where they said homecoming and that's sort of
No.
like the name of the Spider-Man movie that's coming out?
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah, I
didn't think
noticed
that.
that. I did
I didn't
notice.
know that was the name of the movie.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, Spider-Man
homecoming.
Homecoming.
Yeah.
But I was just saying, like, do you want to just run over like the plot of the movie, like front to
Oh
back?
boy.
Like, I mean, just like a
Well,
brief sort of rundown.
a brief rundown. Yeah, sure. My thoughts are a little foggy on some parts of the movie. I watched
Yep.
it and I enjoyed it, but um,
The movie bridges out in so many points, and it really should have been completed with 4 characters and
yeah,
and
I
not like 12.
I will say this: it copied or it well, not copied, but it took in a lot of the comic Civil War, like the scene with Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, and that grieving mother. That was in the original Civil War comic. Then there's the
You gotta
infight,
pay homage to the comic.
yeah, to the comic. So I really felt like that they told what I felt was like a different, like it's its own story, but they also did do a lot of nods to the original comic in this movie, the original Civil War series. Um,
But it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like true to that story. I mean, everything about it was different, pretty much.
I
There was a
actually
couple.
prefer this story over the other one. I kind of didn't like it. I never liked this in the original comic where it's like a bunch of like a high school or something, wasn't it, that blew up, and from a bunch of I thought it meant more that
Elementary school.
yeah,
You
elementary
prefer
school.
for Baron Zemo to convolutedly take everyone to Shadow Moses to duke it out?
Well, no, not that part. I was saying the whole like how the accident happened is what I'm talking about. Like I don't know. I like that it was the actual
Oh,
like captain's team,
it
and
it
it felt more
opens,
personal.
yeah. It
Where
opens sort of like how Age of Ultron opens with, the Avengers as a team going on a mission, and that's how it opens. Then there's unintended consequences when Scarlet Witch, I mean, after they tear the city up and innocent
yeah.
people die anyway, she, ends up killing 11 Wakandans, and which was, the first bit of a, I guess ex machina right there. It's like she just blew up a side of a random building and 11 Wakandans who happened to be there sort of died. Like not the fact that, hundreds of people died in Sokovia. I guess that was the last straw was 11 Wakandans dying.
well, you don't want to
And,
fuck with Wakanda because they have all the fucking vibranium. So I mean,
well, apparently I'm saying like that
Delving into
caused
comic book territory.
like the Sokovia Accords to actually coalesce, because the next scene almost is, General Thunderbolt Ross dropping the Sokovia Accords on the desk at the Avengers headquarters.
Yeah, which is the first step in the plot to like create that first fissure in the group.
My main problem with this movie was that there were no consequences at all for what happened in the movie.
yeah, yeah.
Think about it. Just it would have been better if they killed either Captain America or Iron Man, or even one of the second.
Yeah, that's one of the spoilers of this movie is, like I was saying earlier, there's no spoilers because nobody really dies. I mean, there was no final come to Jesus moment, I guess, for lack of a better term, where somebody really dies and then everyone sort of looks at their hands and says, like, what have I done? Why are we fighting? It was all sort of, it ended too peacefully. There was no consequences, like you said.
And speaking of spoilers, I felt like most of the twists or revelations in this movie were actually plot devices from previous movies. Like,
Well, I mean, I like the Baron Zemo. He's the one that provided all the twists, because he was really Bucky, and he didn't want to activate the soldiers, and he had ulterior motives the whole time that weren't really hard to figure out ahead of time.
What
But
what bothers me though is his character is like the Zemo I know from like the comics and a few of the cartoons is he's a shady motherfucker, and he will.
are you upset that he wasn't wearing a
He's
purple
not
sock
a
on his
family
head?
man.
No, yeah, he's yeah. I was gonna say that. That's why I'm like wondering in the next movie, or they reveal later down the line that there was no family. Zemo has been obsessed with. I remember him being obsessed with Captain America and being one of Captain America's arch rivals. But him actually having a good reason to me, just like it didn't make sense. It's just like you want to be a family man. You're
I
probably
mean,
using that.
he was pretty much just that grieving mother, the HR rep at
Yeah,
the beginning.
yeah.
But it was like he's also just someone capable of setting up this elaborate trap, this very convoluted trap. It's very hard to think that he planned out all this.
Yeah.
At any time, we're not led to believe he had a plan B at any time. If his action scene, I can hear my voice. Fuck. It just threw me off. If his action scene occurred in a certain order, then his whole plan would have been fucked.
You know.
Yeah, the whole thing was to get him to see a videotape
Yeah.
with those two people.
Done
in
at any
that
Which
place.
room
did I
and
miss
with
that?
him.
Did I miss that in another movie because he asked, "Did you know?" And the Captain's like, "I didn't know it was him." So did Captain America see this in a previous movie? This
Like,
videotape?
no telling how they even got that tape in there.
Apparently, he was lying.
Like I didn't under that. Those were some of the parts. There were parts of the movie where I didn't understand, and I think it was because I had missed some certain the other movies like Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, even Ant-Man. I really feel like I missed a whole lot by
Yeah, Ant-Man
missing
has no reason to do what he did, and he doesn't even have a reason within this movie.
Yeah, he was just another glorified character entering the fight.
Well, I mean, and then also like. Not to trail it because we talked about Zemos and his convoluted plan, which I still stand. I think there's more to it. I think he was like he's working a different angle. If they're doing the Zemos that I know, this is going to be something hopefully bigger down the line and not just I'm a grieving husband and father. Because that would just be terrible. That'd be a throwaway character. I think he was more conniving, so to speak.
Yeah, but that's the Russo brothers, though. I mean, like, if you hold up like Age of Ultron next to this movie, Age of Ultron's way more. It takes more leaps. It ventures further into the fantastical. Like the Russo brothers with Civil War in this movie, they sort of it seems like they wanted to humanize it a little bit, make it more grounded.
And another thing that kind of reminded me of Age of Ultron, which I didn't know you didn't see, Sean, was that like, and that they jump around all the time. Like there's just as much globetrotting, and oftentimes people are in different parts of the world at the same time, and you have no idea that's happening or why at times. But it makes very clear where they are, and what time it is, every time they move.
Yeah, after the third giant title card, the giant freaking white letters across the entire screen, Bucharest. It's like, just like pan down to a street sign or something.
German.
Yeah.
Moving.
It worked. It was okay.
Moving on to one part of it, there's the fight, which I actually was satisfied with the little Civil War, the fight that they had. But just like you guys, I was disappointed that there really wasn't any consequences. And there was the big fight at the airport, which was awesome.
That was like the goofball fight.
Yeah,
that was fun.
The goofball fight. The fact that what I was about because he's. Pretty much like if you really look into it, a lot of Marvel characters was just Stan Lee reading DC Comics. I was about to call him Martian Man, but what's that dude's name? I forgot his name.
Vision.
Vision.
Yeah, who sat out of that fight for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Sean, should you really be reviewing this movie, Sean?
Well, I forgot his name. I saw the movie. I'm actually a Marvel fan. Are you trying to say that I'm a DC fan there? No, he lost his concentration and he hit fucking War Machine.
Yeah. He's like, I'm a perfect computer. Oh shit.
All for Falcon is to dodge that.
Yeah, you would think that
And run the trail of that fucking laser.
you would think that the Vision wouldn't even take the shot if War Machine was in the line of
Yeah.
fire.
I also thought that.
Yeah,
They could have surprised us with that. Like
People are faster than any of those guys.
that was the highest stakes, by the way. That was the moment that should have been someone dying when he got paralyzed when War Machine fell, and that was sort of like the price.
Was it just me, or was that whole sequence just the trailer? Honestly,
More or less.
More-
They're fighting in like the blandest area too. It's like
Yeah.
a gray flat spot.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a
there was nothing interesting from the directing.
it was a great juxtaposition, like when you have this big open area and it's sort of like all these characters. It makes you think, it's the world is bigger than them, and then Giant Man comes along. When he freaking turns into Giant Man, he fills up that entire space, and the scale gets even bigger, and it's sort of
Should he be less?
It was really
strong?
awesome.
I don't. In the Ant-Man rules.
What do you
that they
mean?
explained in the Ant-Man movie.
if they really wanted to, if they really wanted to like do like the comics justice, they would have had Vision blow a hole through Ant-Man. Like how
Giant
Thor,
Man, yeah.
like Thor did to Goliath.
I mean, in this film, heroes kill. So what would make us think that someone on the Vision doesn't know? He will think of us as a villain.
I think the airport scene was the highlight of the film for me. Like the whole time I was, watching the trailers and stuff, and I had this idea that, after certain leaks and toy leaks and stuff like that Giant Man would appear, and then after I, thought for a second, well, there's going to be a chance that Spider-Man like swings on Giant Man like a building, and that's going to be awesome,
Yeah,
and it was awesome.
Oh, and speaking of that, that's a good segue. Oh my God, like I was skeptical, but I love their choices with Spider-Man and Aunt May. I actually thought it was a good. He's young enough. I believed he was a teenager. She was believable as his aunt. It just and then how he kept talking, and then there what was it? Falcon said, you're it's like, have you ever fought before? You're not supposed to talk this much. Because he just keeps talking and talking.
Yeah.
It was just.
I think there was like a bit of like a sort of a fourth wall break of humor when Tony Stark is talking with Aunt May about like Marissa Tomei's age, which is sort of like a pop culture joke that's been running for like a decade or so.
Well, when she says, ants come in all shapes and sizes or whatever. That was great. I mean, that whole interaction was unnecessary, but great. I mean, if Spider-Man wasn't in the movie, I've seen this from a couple critics, and they're right. If Spider-Man wasn't in the movie, then the movie would still work. I mean, he was obviously just...
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was like part of the plot at all, really.
Yeah, he was shoehorned in, but he was shoehorned in an effective way.
Yeah.
And it pays off, everything about him being involved, when he was on screen, it was great. So I don't really mind the fact that the movie could have stood on its own without him, because he added so much, even though he didn't advance the plot.
Yeah, and I thought they put him in a perfect way too, because Tony says, "Oh, you're done now," or something like. It's like he's young, he's a rookie, so of course he's not going to go with them, on these big missions. So I thought, like you said, it was a perfect little. He was shoehorned in, but like you said, in the right way. They used him in the right way. And
hey, can I?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to ask, like, how. War Machine like broke his legs from a fall. Like, does like Falcon have any kind of like prosthetics of any kind on his legs? Because one time he like flew and kicked a helicopter and like knocked it out of like gyro. Like,
oh yeah,
he doesn't have like, he's not like Iron Man or anyone. He can't just kick a helicopter when he's like flying like a bullet through the air.
Yeah. Maybe it's like an exosuit or something.
Yeah, maybe he's got like something, because he kicks everything.
Yeah,
I think
that's fine with humans, but like when you kick a helicopter, I'm like, I don't know. You kind of just got shot out of It's kind of like just getting shot out of a cannon and then just trying to land feet first on a wall.
And Tanny mentioned this actually when we were talking about it after we saw the movie. It's just kind of like, what the hell, Tony? Wouldn't you have like some manual button or release that would eject you out of a suit if you lost power? Don't you think that would have been, you know, like
I mean, you could put like
that.
a $40 million worth of in there, but you can't put a little parachute in there.
Yeah, you can't put a parachute in there, but it's like freaking future tech. That's the only thing that bothered me about that. It's just like, you know, oh, I lost power. It's like, wouldn't you have a failsafe or something in the suit if it's dropping and has no power?
And that's happened to Iron Man like several times. Like it happened in the first 3 Iron Man movies. You know, it's like there's always that scene where he's falling from the sky and he's got no power or intermittent power. And it's like he never thinks about it, just like put a little parachute in there so like you can manually just like deploy a parachute and land safely. That's a good point.
Yeah, Anyway, but moving on, and then there was the big reveal with like Tony or Winter Soldier killing Tony's parents, and there's the big fight with, you know, Iron Man.
How did Captain America find out about that? Because they talked about that. And
that's why I don't know because I haven't seen any of the other movies. But he says, you know, Tony goes, "Did
he
you?"
Definitely doesn't tell them. I mean, that's not like a thing in any other movie.
Oh, it isn't.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Then what was up with that line? Was did you know? He goes, "I didn't know it was him."
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I don't know how
about it in some scene. Like they mentioned.
I don't know how he knew either. Maybe I think Captain America maybe had access to Hydra files during the Winter Soldier movie, and maybe he found out that way. But it was never confirmed. Like it was never confirmed in any of the movies that he killed them. You know, it was implied in Winter Soldier that he killed Howard Stark and his wife. But
this might be like a series, say like one of the Netflix series kind of thing.
Maybe, but I'm thinking maybe they came across that information during the hunt for Bucky after he disappeared after Winter Soldier. Because Black Widow.
But what about
dumped all those Hydra files on the internet. So, but you would think Tony would be able to figure it out if it was public information. So yeah, I don't know how Steve knew.
And now I was going to say, backtracking a little bit, which this plays into the comics, and it's also kind of weird, but Captain America's love interest from the original movie died in this one. And
sorry, I just know where you're going.
And she, I'm going 2 ways with this. The first is, of course, Captain America is banging her niece?
It's like niece or great niece,
which is
weird.
I remember being in the comics too. It wasn't there like a resistance fighter he kind of fell in love with, and then he fell in love, and like when he got thawed out, he fell in love with her granddaughter or daughter or some shit. It's weird. Captain America, that's some weird shit.
Yeah, that's like the first time I ever like really thought about his age being a factor.
Yeah.
Like, they went out of their way to point it out when Bucky and him were about to go into the Soviet or the Hydra facility. Yeah, they both pointed. They took time, like, oh, we should remind the audience that these dudes are 100 years old. You remember when we used to go down to the pier and spend a nickel on bread and watch a movie for a quarter? Yeah, that was. Yeah, we're 100. Let's go do this.
To be honest, this relationship has been building up since the last Captain America movie.
They just,
I read them as gay in that movie.
It was weird. Also, I love the little scene that they have where he's like, she brings the gear back. And she brings them their gear back. Hawk. I was about to say Hawkeye. She brings back Falcon and Captain America's gear back, and then they kiss, and then there's that scene where it's just like, could you move your seat up? And he's like, no. And then when he kisses her, they cut back to the car, and there's Falcon and Winter Soldier just like smiling and nodding their heads, like yeah.
Which I really like that interaction between Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like they don't like each other at all, but Steve is the one that holds them together. They'd both do anything for him.
Yeah.
So it's like they were in the car in that Volkswagen, like cramped together, and they hate each other.
And doing anything for him implies that they won't tell him not to have relations with the great niece of the woman he loved who just died.
Yeah, who just died.
But he never copulated with Peggy, though.
Because she is like Peggy.
Yeah. Which,
Like,
by the way,
as far-
they stole Peggy's line that she says, where she says, to, "My Aunt Peggy would say this," was Captain America's line from the comics, talking about plant, be like a tree and like plant yourself and say no, you move when someone tells you to. That's like, it was like, why couldn't you just have Captain America say that? Why did it have to be? I guess they had to work Peggy in there somehow.
They had to build his resolve against the Accords because there was a moment of doubt in his mind. But I have a question. During the fight scenes between Black Panther and the Winter Soldier, am I crazy? Because there was like an interaction between Black Panther's ring and Bucky's metal arm, or did I dream that, or is that
I don't remember that, but it's also quickly cutted that I couldn't really pay attention to anything.
Yeah, I saw a couple times it looked like Bucky had Black Panther and like he pushed his hand with his Wakandan ring on it like close to his arm, and it like repelled his arm. Maybe it was just a
I
trick.
think I remember is when he's not in the suit at all.
Yeah, is that what it was? Like his ring got close to Bucky's arm, and it like almost overrode Bucky's arm. Like,
they're like,
I don't know
in the cafe of the UN.
Yeah,
knowing
that
that
seemed
he's,
like really quick, and I didn't understand that.
Knowing that he's Wakandan, and maybe it's either advanced technology he has in that ring, or maybe it's the vibranium in the ring.
It should be the vibranium.
Yeah, but that's what it looked like. Like the vibranium was repelling the vibranium, but like, why doesn't the Captain America's shield repel Bucky's arm? I mean, it's vibranium too.
And while we're on the subject of Black Panther, I thought they did a perfect, very quick. They didn't really dwell on it, but they did the Black Panther origin story in their own way. But in this movie, you get Black Panther's, kind of origin, with his dad dying, and then he takes up the,
mantle,
the mantle of Black Panther. And I thought it was well done. Instead of like really like they typically what movies might have done, like how we've seen Batman's origin story in almost every goddamn Batman movie, or how we've seen Spider-Man's origin story. They could have easily done like dedicated a quarter of the movie to just Black Panther, but I thought they did it in a really I think they did his origin story in a really cool way without taking over the entire movie or taking over a quarter of the movie or half of the movie by telling it.
He was one of the few characters that actually felt like he deserved to be in the movie.
Yeah.
He felt in the movie. Spider-Man didn't really feel in place. Ant-Man never really feel in place. Even Black Widow didn't feel in place, or Hawkeye.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
besides
the whole
him,
Wakandan through line made sense for the Black Panther to be in there. I think he was planned on. He was supposed to be in there from the very beginning. I think Spider-Man was a late addition.
Yeah. Not only that, I really feel that Black Panther's story arc follows exactly with Captain America, because the movie's about Captain America and Tony Stark, really. Zemos is kind of the catalyst, but of this of their break and all that. But it really follows their relationship, and I think Black Panther is also caught up in it with his vengeance for his father and all that, which is wrapped up in
which he had a great like sort of arc to the end when he confronts Zemo, who's finally completed his mission, that he sees what a lust for vengeance can do to a person. But going back really quickly to why Iron Man got pushed over the edge after he decided to help Captain America and went back to save him. Then he went back into a murderous rage and tried to kill Bucky and Captain America again because Captain America knew about his parents' assassination. There was a scene in Winter Soldier where he meets Zola in that underground bunker, remember? And Zola reveals that Hydra has been infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. for years, and he actually revealed to Captain America at that point that the Winter Soldier was involved in the Stark's death. So yeah, that was explained in the previous movie, apparently.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I can't remember little things like that.
It was a flash, yeah.
Yeah, these like movies all have like the same visual style.
That was probably
that's going to change with Doctor Strange. Apparently, Doctor Strange is going to go way out of left field with their movie.
I mean, well, it should because
Maybe
it's Doctor Strange. I mean,
That's so strange.
well, yeah, that.
But
But
anyway,
also,
yeah,
he
back to
deals in
Civil
the
War.
astro plane. You know, I'm not. I will just be off a little off subject. I hope when I go into Doctor Strange, it's going to be different from the other Marvel movies, just because Doctor Strange deals in a completely different.
Well, it's going to be different for
World.
me because I'm going to get high as shit before I go watch it.
Okay.
Hey, did y'all catch the probable Futurama reference? Like right after the MIT TED talk that Stark delivered. There's
Uh,
some kind of dean is like talking to him. It's like, hey, can you give me a grant for this like
he's the
self-heating?
dean from Community.
Yeah, he is. I noticed that too. It's like, can you give me a
Jim,
grant for
yeah.
this self-heating like hot dog? It's like, and I was just thinking of the bureaucrat episode of Futurama where it's like they poo-pooed my electric Frankfurter.
Yeah. that might
I am Bender, please
have been.
insert
That
girder.
movie had a great number of like really good like Easter eggs and jokes that were really funny.
This is, by the way, this is the first time I've really felt for. Again, I haven't seen the other. I haven't seen Iron Man 3, and I didn't see Age of Ultron or any of that. But this is the first time I really felt that Tony Stark was having character development in a serious way in this movie. Because, like, say, Avengers in particular, it's just like, oh, I'm Tony Stark and I'm a rich, asshole kind of thing. Where in Iron Man 2, when I saw that, it's like, yeah, he's the rich asshole, but he's also, there's some other shit going on in the, with his, there was like finding his dad. I remember him finding like a tape or something of his dad talking, when he was building the arc reactor. Anyway, I really felt that this is the first time he was having another moment like that where he's actually developing and emoting instead of just being I'm a rich asshole. He was a person again. I felt, but the fight delivered. The Captain America.
But Iron Man made a lot of really weird choices in that movie, though. If you think about it, like his choice to go back on the Accords after he found out, that Zemo was behind it all, instead of actually taking it to the government.
Yeah, it's like the Accords stopped mattering.
Yeah, and like his choice to bring Spider-Man in, even though he barely knew anything about him and he's just a kid, put him in harm's way. His choice to let Black Widow go, even though everyone else got put in prison. Like his choices were weird. It's almost like he was for the Accords, but he was still in charge of everybody, and like the general was like listening to him when it should have been the other way around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did kind of, if I remember, kind of become in charge, but he was more, like you said, yeah, it was out of character because in the comics, he was hardcore for registration. Like, he was not budging at all. And he wouldn't have gone and helped Captain America on some side mission in the comic book.
I would have really liked to seen how Captain America busted out all the wrong side Avengers from the floating prison, because that whole prison concept, it looked like was sort of like the negative zone prison where the non-registered superhumans were supposed to be imprisoned. But how did Captain America with no resources go back and rescue Ant-Man and Falcon and Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch by himself? Like, did he swim to it? Like, how did he even know where it was?
That brings up another point of mine I wanted to make. For this being a Captain America movie, it didn't feel like it was based on him. It felt like an Avenger movie. Like
it was like just Avengers light.
It was just Avengers. It was just like, ooh, Captain America, your first love dies, and you're porking her granddaughter or niece, and you have this. He's in there. His story arc is in there, but it didn't feel like. I don't feel like the movie was revolving around him, like say Captain America, the first Avenger did. And I'm pretty sure the Winter Soldier revolved around him too, and kind of focused on him. I felt like it was like focusing on the Avengers as a whole in this movie. It didn't feel to me. I was watching this movie and I didn't feel like I was watching Captain America. I felt like I was watching the Avengers.
I disagree. I think Captain America's story was the emotional arc of this film. Like if it wasn't for him having a connection with Bucky and wanting to exonerate his friend, and trusting his friend, then I don't think this movie would have had any emotional weight at all. I think it would have just been, I think his plot was the entire weight of this movie, like his conscience and everything. He's the one that convinced, some of the people not to sign, and he's the reason that Black Widow did a double cross. And yeah, I think I don't agree.
Oh,
I think
no,
it was about him.
I agree that it was. I agree that he was a main focal point, but I disagree, because I felt like also where Iron Man was at and what Iron Man was feeling and what was going on with the Iron Man was also crucial to the plot in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, you say arc, but like, from what point does Captain America move to? Like, where's the growth? He doesn't really change.
But he's sort of like Superman in that regard, right? I mean, Captain America is supposed to be this unwavering icon of, truth, justice.
Yeah,
the
I meant
American
like,
way.
and that was sort of like why I wasn't like Team Cap, because I just don't think that's very interesting.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I like this movie did better than the comics did in trying to, because the comics, to me anyway, was just like, Tony's a fucking dick. Captain America's at least, believing in what, he says. In this movie, I felt like it did a really good job of making me go, I don't know, Tony's got a lot of good points, and Tony's trying to keep the bureaucrats off of them. But then again, I felt Captain America had a good point, because he was just like, if we give them, an inch, they're going to take a mile. They're going to take full control of us and tell us what we can and can't do. And I felt like they both had really good points and really good viewpoints.
They presented the conflict in a way where there was like you could identify with both sides.
Yeah, where I didn't think the comic did that well enough, because when I read the comics, I was just like, Iron Man, you're a fucking dick.
If they got in their way, Tony Stark would have gotten his way. None of the things in the movie would happen.
You went a little robot there. Could you say that again, Nelson?
I said, like, if Tony got his way, none of this would happen. None of the plot of the movie would happen.
Yeah.
Right. If it wasn't for if it wasn't for Steve, not wanting to sign, but I think that Tony had some good points as his reasons why he signed and why he was supporting the Accords, but like he made a lot of weird choices, like we talked about before. Even if he did support the Accords and whatnot, then it still didn't make any sense for him to go for Captain America alone and not present his evidence to the governing body that he was answering to try to get them to get on Captain America's
side. In the movie, he was at a moment where he either was with Captain America or just shit would have gone down further.
Yeah.
Because they thought that they were bringing back these assassins.
Well, let's go ahead, because we've discussed in length about a lot of parts of the movie. Let's go ahead and go to the fight that I loved, but ultimately no fucking payoff. They have their fight. Bucky loses his arm, but I'm pretty sure it could easily be replaced. And
it doesn't even in the country with vibranium.
yeah, in the country with vibranium that he's asleep at. But yeah, you get to the end of the fight, and it's just like, that's not your shield or something. He throws it down. He decides not to kill, which I liked. It was like, okay, yeah, Captain's not going to kill Iron Man, and Iron Man's not going to kill Captain America. But it's just kind of like the fight ends. They go their separate ways. So it's like, okay, they're broken up. But then right after that, he sends Tony a letter saying, hey, if you ever need me, call me. The Avengers are yours, but hey, we're buds. So it's kind of like, okay, so you're not broken up, because I know once Infinity War starts, fucking Tony Stark's going to get that old-ass fucking flip phone from 2003 and call your ass up. And you guys the band's going to get back together again. So there was no consequence to this confrontation. Captain America has Winter Soldier hiding out in Wakanda.
The Sokovia Accords are still going to be still going to be a plot point at some point.
Yeah, it's like you can imagine the first half of like the next movie like this being like Team Stark can't like solve a problem because the UN's like twiddling their thumbs, and then like Captain America is going to show up, and then like they're going to like shred the Sokovia Accords and come back together, and they're going to try to dramatize that. Like you can almost like see it happen.
But I just feel I'm in agreement.
Either that, or it's just going to be some hand waving thing in the first 5 minutes. They're going to go, you know, just some newscaster in a bar is going to be like, ever since they disbanded the Sokovia Accords, metahumans are running around wild or something. You know, it's just going to be some hand waving thing. So,
and
like, why did people blame them for the Sokovia thing? It's like. It's like, and I blame you. It's like, was it because you made Ultron, or was it because you intervened? Because
everyone knows that Tony Stark created Ultron, so like it was sort of his fault what happened in Sokovia. But I just don't understand.
Yeah, it was like, but they never like clarified. It was like,
do you think maybe this was
made Ultron, or was it because you were in Sokovia?
Do you guys think maybe this was they saw some of the Man of Steel blowback, and they saw like what was going on with Batman v Superman, where they're like, we're going to address the damage in the city, and Marvel's like,
no, I don't think there was enough time to. I think
they kind of did that in Ultron too.
Yeah, I mean, that was Tony Stark's. You know, his reason for creating Ultron in the first place was because of what happened in New York. So it's sort of like unintended consequences of trying to prevent these disasters. Yeah. Like Ultron's Iron Legion or whatever was supposed to prevent another New York situation. And then, of course, you know, what happened, and then Sokovia. What I just don't understand about the Sokovia Accords, it's like, it seems like they're called the Sokovia Accords, but it seemed to me like no one was going to do shit until the 11 people in that building got killed by Scarlet Witch, which made her character very important throughout the entire movie, which I thought her part was actually well done. She had like a really important sort of moral through line through the whole plot. But I just thought it was kind of weird how hundreds of people must have died in Sokovia. I know they evacuated the asteroid and all that stuff, but like, wouldn't it have been easier for Ultron just to get the nuclear launch codes or something? But I guess that's neither here nor there.
Well,
but
like I thought it was the Wakandans, and when Wakanda was upset about that, they have all the vibranium. Yeah. People want that fucking vibranium, so they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Sokovia, yeah, Wakanda, we'll do that."
People want that fucking vibranium, man.
Yeah.
Maybe the Sokovia Accords, you know, it was being worked on, you know, ever since Sokovia, which they spent a lot of time fleshing out timelines too. Like that was another thing that sort of threw me off. It's like they kept telling you it was 8 years ago when the first Iron Man came out. It was 7 months ago when Winter Soldier came out. It was, you know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, to fast forward though, we talked about kind of the ending there, and how it kind of just it did leave a few loose ends that they could tie up, but I really feel that ultimately, yeah, they're going to get back together. It seems like to be no consequence except for War Machine can't walk, but oh wait, no, he has the fucking exo leg suit thing, so he's going to walk again. So he's going to be back.
Yeah, he's going to have better legs.
Bit of the movie when Tony Stark was talking about his new technology to take memories away or show people memories, that's going to come back to Bucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah, he's going to put Bucky in barf.
Yeah, he's going to barf from Bucky.
Well, I was going to say, fast forwarding, I think a lot of people are going to die in Infinity War. I really think they're going to kill off probably some of the cast so they can introduce new characters and start fresh. But we can save that for later in a speculation topic. But I will say this. I went to leave after the little I thought the stinger, the post-credit stinger, was at the beginning when they're in Wakanda, and it shows that, which I really like, that kind of ties up Bucky and freaking Black Panther's T'Challa and Bucky's story arc, or their, because, you know, he was like trying to kill Bucky through most of the movie, and he's like, after finding out that it wasn't, you know, Bucky who killed his dad, he's like, I'll take care of him. I'll hide him in my country for you until we can find a way to cure him of his brainwashing or whatnot. I thought that was the Stinger, so I went to go leave the theater, right? And the guys are saying, "No, stay. There's another one after this." And I'm like, "Okay," and I'm waiting. I have to wait through the whole credits. And it's as funny as that scene was. Don't get me wrong, it was funny. It wasn't fucking worth me waiting. It's like,
we actually missed this. What is it? What happened?
It's just it's Spider-Man complaining, huh?
Here's a fun fact about Chris Evans, the guy that plays Steve Rogers. His
Yeah.
contract is up. Second Infinity Wars, like Part 2 of Infinity Wars. His
Oh.
contract is up.
So I mean, maybe he'll die, or he might resign. I think Robert Downey Jr. is going to die. I don't think he wants to sign on for a few more movies, but it's just my opinion. I will say that
He said that he has the number 4 in him. He says he has one more in him.
Okay.
Solo.
An Iron Man movie, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, they have a little post-credit Spider-Man thing, right? And
Yeah.
and it's just him like going, "Oh, Aunt May, it's just my eye hurt." You know, it's a guy named Steve from Brooklyn punched me, it's a funny little scene, and then he finds out he has like a little thing coming out of his little web shooter. It's like a symbol, it's a Spider-Man picture, and then after that it goes, "Spider-Man will return." It's like, no fucking shit. Sony announced that like 6 months ago, it seems. And it's just kind of like, it was a throwaway. I just felt like, in comparison to the little stinger, post-credit stingers in the past, this just does not meet the mark. Because before they were building up, it'd be like Nick Fury talking to Iron Man and all that, and
but they were, the stingers used to hint towards movies that hadn't even been confirmed yet. It would give you some glimpse of the future that you still weren't sure about. Like I said, like the post-credit stinger for like the first Iron Man movie was when, I think it was when Sam Jackson showed up and he was revealed as Nick Fury, and it was sort of like, yeah, that's awesome, because we didn't know Sam Jackson was going to be Nick Fury. We didn't even know there was going to be an Avengers movie yet, But anyway, the stinger in this, the stingers in these were worth sitting through the credits for me, because it just, gives you a little bit of a glimpse into the world that we're going to go into with those other 2 movies that we already know exist.
Yeah. And this is my question before we end this. Do you think Marvel's in control of the Spider-Man movie and Sony's just slapping their name on it with them?
I have no idea.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I assumed it was like based on Spider-Man's role in the movie. I was like, well, like this is clearly provisional, so I have no idea.
Because I'm like
they must have some kind of like joint profit sharing deal.
Yeah.
If it's a full feature length film that they're producing.
yeah.
Well,
'Cause
apparently, Marvel's in creative control, and Sony has all the publishing, or what you call it, the marketing rights or whatever.
Okay, I was gonna say that's smart then, because Sony just fucking bankroll what you have to bankroll and just collect your fucking check, because when it comes to creative, you fucking suck. Like with, what is it called? Was it MIB 23, Men in Black 23? It's going to be a Jump 21, or was it the Jump 21 Street? Is it called? Or
21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street.
Which
and
is
Men in Black
somehow
mashup.
more audacious than like the post credits from 22 Jump Street.
Which
Where they were like lampooning sequels to that movie.
like they.
Can we talk about let's as a group. I'm putting a chalkboard in front of my face right here, a virtual chalkboard. Let's figure out Baron Zemo's plan.
Oh, okay. This sounds
Because
fun.
he definitely had a plan.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, I'm Baron Zemo, and I just found out that a giant city crushed my loved ones, and I just dug through the rubble for 2 days. Okay. I want to blame somebody. Okay, so what happened? All right, the Avengers caused this, so I hate the Avengers now, and I don't have the power to stop them, but I want to destroy them. So how do I do it?
You break them apart from the inside. All right. He
Okay.
figures that out.
That's a good one. All right, so how do I get at them? Let's see. I'm like maybe a German military intelligence officer or something. I have limited resources.
how do I break them apart from the inside? Oh, I have the perfect thing. I have knowledge that the friend of one killed the parents of another. I don't
Wait,
know how
wait.
he has this
Yeah, how do I
knowledge.
know that? Okay, how did I figure that one out? How do I know? Okay, I know the winners. I know that Steve Rogers is Captain America and that he was involved through historical records and apparently going to a museum. I know he had a friend named Bucky, but I don't know. I didn't. How do I know that the Winter Soldier from 7 months ago is the same Bucky Barnes? Because his identity was never revealed publicly. I
Or
don't
in
think.
in his objective in the first part of his plan is essentially finding out that there is remaining evidence of what happened.
Right.
And so he goes forward with the plan, not even knowing that it can work.
Well, how would he even know how to track down former Hydra agents that would know how to get to that secret base where the super soldiers?
He worked in Secret Service. He was like
Okay,
a covert ops guy.
so his contacts he'd be able to find it. Okay, so he figured
Yeah,
out
that's
that
what we
Bucky.
have to assume.
So he figured out that Bucky was the key to draw Steve out to drive a wedge in between because he knew Iron Man wouldn't just agree with Captain America. Like he knew that there would be some sort of conflict there, like a disagreement.
I guess he also knew that Bucky knew about the existence of Bucky's code book.
Well, yeah, it's getting really hard just in the first two steps of the plan to even buy it. You know what I mean?
Well, as I stated earlier, I don't think this whole convoluted plan of his was his main plan. I think he has another angle, and it will be revealed later on. I'm hoping. I'm hoping he's not a one-off.
I'm just waiting for the Red Skull to come back.
Oh yeah. I mean, but they got to pay that. That's a pretty big actor. You're gonna have to pay him a lot of money which I love him. I can't,
to get Elrond himself.
Yeah. But hopefully he doesn't come. Hopefully he does come back. That would be awesome to get Red Skull back.
I want to discuss it now. I just want to throw out a quick, just sort of a thing that I was thinking about during this movie is the Batman versus Superman comparison, which is sort of unavoidable. It seemed to me like Warner Brothers threw so much work to make sure that each character has like a setup in like its own movie before it's introduced in this this team up, this extended universe. Well, Marvel just threw Spider-Man in there, no setup, no origin story. He's been doing it for 6 months because we all know who he is. It's sort of like it worked, It's like I don't need to see him get bit by a radioactive spider again. It's sort of like Batman versus Superman. Like, why couldn't the Flash and Aquaman and Wonder Woman just sort of all exist in that universe? Why can't you just throw them in and be like active? I don't know. I can't talk too much shit about it because I didn't see it because it was so.
Oh, you didn't see it,
and even
it was so poorly received. I'll watch it when it comes on home video.
Yeah, like I think I took
see that in a theater. It was.
I think I took the fire. If you ever go back and listen, I think I took the fire out of Jonathan wanting to see that movie with our discussion of that movie. If you remember that discussion, Jonathan,
it's seared into my brain.
But I even with T'Challa did have Black Panther did have a quasi origin story in this movie, but they did it in that kind of more like I don't know, like did it feel like it was kind of more in the background of the overall movie? But it did happen.
Of course,
and you didn't slow it down because usually with origin stories they really slow down on certain points so they can develop the character. This really felt
and even there was a mention of Wakanda in Age of Ultron, so it's actually kind of interesting how they weave these things together.
Yeah,
it's like so there's not just no precedent; it's just like a growing precedent.
Yeah. And I thought it was perfect how they did it. And Zack Snyder, you could learn a lesson from how they did it.
Can Zack Snyder learn?
No, I don't think he can.
Why do you insist on saying Zack Snyder? Every time you say that, it's I think of Rob Schneider.
I don't know. I can't remember his name. God damn it! I really do not care for this man.
Zack Snyder. Actually, I'm a bit surprised it took us this long to compare the two. I thought audiences would definitely, and critics too, would definitely make the comparison, because here you have essentially the same premise. You have two of the most iconic heroes of each universe fighting each other in movies 2 months apart. less than 2 months apart, I think.
Right.
And people would, they leave Snyder's, I'm gonna put this in quotation points, but you can't see it, film, and then they would go see this one, and they would say, oh wait, all these characters are established, there's a comprehensive story, and I felt something. Oh, that's great. But
And it was fun.
Felt something that wasn't like pain and confusion. And I was actually rather hoping like audiences wouldn't do that. As just a way to like kind of blast DC. I mean, they're playing catch up, and I'm not even gonna really talk about
Most people have been people that saw it.
But like those films are so radically different. I don't really think it's like fair to compare them in some way.
Yeah.
Like, as like strange and absurd as Batman v Superman is, at least it's like an auteurist vision. Whereas like, the Marvel movies aren't. They all have different directors, but really the person really directing is Kevin Feige, because all these films are so alike. Whereas like Zack Snyder, no one makes movies like Zack Snyder, thankfully.
Yeah. I'm hoping I really am hoping that after what happened with Batman v Superman, that WB does like have a come to Jesus moment and go, hey, DC Comics, how about you guys how about we let DC control the narrative and switch directors, and get someone more, or even keep Zack Snyder, because it seems like when he's working within the bounds of the source material, it seems like he can get the job done, like, with say the original Sin City, or even I think 300, where it seems like with this, it seems like WB said, hey, you go make us a DC universe.
Sin City was Robert Rodriguez.
Oh, it was? Why did I think Zack Snyder for Sin City? I'm
No,
thinking of Watchmen.
Watchmen. Yeah, it's like the thing is that Zack Snyder often gets a lot of creative control in the projects, and I don't get that sense with Marvel. Like even Joss Whedon, talked about it. He recanted recently to some degree, but you often hear that with Marvel projects, is that like people back out because they don't get the creative control they want. But it's like when Zack Snyder and DC clearly gives their directors a lot of creative control, and that doesn't always work out. And I think in some ways,
Green Lantern.
It's like that it almost like vindicates Marvel's model in a way, which is actually like kind of disheartening, because
that's why Edgar Wright left Ant-Man, because of creative differences, because they hyper control their movies. The Russo brothers definitely
Ava DuVernay as well, I think, left the Black Panther movie or something.
Well, I think it's commendable, especially with Marvel, though, because you have this huge universe, different movies, different characters. There's this huge plan going forward. Everyone needs to be on the same fucking page. But one thing I will say, I think there could be a little...
Yeah, it's a big machine.
Yeah, it's a big
machine. They gotta
machine.
Keep it going.
And I think where you could have a little give and take is how the director does the scenes. But tell the director, hey, you can be creative, but just so you know, Captain America is going from point A to point B and then to point C. So make sure you hit those points. But in between that, yes, you can be creative with your scenes and all that, but we need to make sure this and that happens so we can get to
It's just going to take one. It's going to take one shit bomb, and the whole tower is going to fall down.
Yeah.
Like if Doctor Strange comes out and it's just a turd, like the whole thing is just going to collapse inward on itself. Like no one's going to go watch anything after that. Like, Infinity Wars Part 1 starring Doctor Strange. Wah wah. Oh shit! It made $20 million.
Like the same feeling, like from Marvel movies, like almost invariably, like since the Avengers, I've just been like I keep seeing the same images and feeling the same thing, and so I always worried that like what would happen to Marvel is that people would just sort of get bored.
Yeah,
like
watching the same thing over and over again.
Like I imagine they use like the same second unit to like shoot like buildings exploding, Like, and it always looks the same. It always looks the
Well,
same.
I think a good idea that I would do. I'm not a a director or in the movie business at all, but I think what a smart idea would be, especially after.
Don't sell yourself short, man. I saw your reviews.
I would think that a good thing to do is, especially after Infinity War, how about you put the Avengers on a little hibernation and go with another, maybe go with a different, story arc, and kind of like what I have faith in with the Star Wars franchise is the main numbered series are still coming out every 2-3 years, but in between all that you're having all these other little runoff movies, like you got Rogue One this year and all that. And so I think I think if you put a space in between them, people won't get as bored. So instead of being like, okay, you are definitely getting an Avengers movie in the next 3 or 4 years, be like, all right, Infinity War's wrapped up. Now we're going to focus on this other storyline. It's still in the same universe, but
that's interesting you say that, because their Phase 3 timeline puts right after Infinity Wars Part 2 a movie about the Inhumans after that. So that's another superhero team, so to speak, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to follow through with that, because I've heard they might be scrapping the Inhuman storyline too. So
absence makes the heart grow fonder. So if you have a big space between, it's like, I haven't seen an Iron Man or a Captain America, people are going to want to see them again. And then if you space it out, you won't be bored, because it'll be like, I haven't seen Iron Man in for 8 years, so it'll be, people will be clamoring to get to it. I think if you put a certain character or even series on a little bit of a hiatus for a little while, and then you come back out with it, I think it'll, people will not get bored with it. But it's very tricky, because if you take too long, people will forget about it. But if you come back too soon, people might be bored with it. So it's tricky. But I think it can be done. Let's go ahead and just wrap this thing up. We've discussed a lot of things about this movie, but final thoughts, guys, on Captain America: Civil War.
My final thoughts on the movie will be, it's a good movie to watch. It's a good time on the movie theater, unless you're into movies and you see the technical aspects of it, which there was nothing to look at. It was just a movie that presented itself as an action movie with no really particular scenes that you would, as a movie admirer and like a movie aficionado, you want to watch. But at the same aspect, it's a movie that played it very safe with its characters, which every one of its characters. So I would say Marvel wants its money. With all the characters, they want continuations from movies to movies. When it goes to Ant-Man, Spider-Man, Iron Man, which I think should have been killed, at least. That was my most likely character to die in the movie. And aside from that, I would recommend for people to watch it.
Yeah.
You'll probably see it with Ash.
Well, I'll probably see it with Ash. You can yell at me.
If you've seen every Marvel movie that has come out, all 12 of them before this one, then you're gonna love this movie. It ties all these characters together in a way that is beautifully paced. The plot elements and certain motivations for characters are flawed, but you know what? It's worth it to watch Spider-Man quip about metal arms and really old movies like The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, which, by the way, I thought was a cool little reference to another Disney property.
Synergy, baby, synergy.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that I'm having a brain fart. Sorry, guys. I'm starting to think that. Oh, God damn it, Jonathan.
What happened?
Oh, God. Why am I forgetting our friend's name? Oh, my God.
Nelson.
What friend? You ain't got no friends.
Not Nelson. You work with him. He's a coworker. Zach, thank you. I'm starting to think I had a huge brain fart there. I'm starting to think Zach was right. We are eventually someday down the road going to get a mashup. Luke Skywalker joins the Avengers after that little reference in the movie.
I want to die if that happens.
Oh, but yeah.
But I mean, no, that's not going to happen because it was just solidified that in the Marvel Universe, the Star Wars movies exist, but they're just movies.
Oh, yeah,
That's true.
You never know. They could always do one of those little one-off cartoons or something, or a comic strip.
Well,
so.
Doctor Strange can bend some reality, so let's wait till that movie comes out.
Yeah.
I give this movie an A.
All right. Yeah, I will have to give this movie. I don't do that system. I do a different system. I usually do.
No, proprietary systems only.
I use
they must all match.
I use the 5-star system. Not 5 stars.
I give your system an F.
I use the 4-star system, and I would give this movie about 3.5 stars. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but it's really good. It's worth watching. Though you will leave the theater feeling like you watched an in-betweener movie, which if you've watched all the other movies, great, you're going to love it. But if you're like me and you saw only like the first phase, or maybe if you've dropped in and out of a few of the movies but you haven't seen everything, then you might feel like you're watching it feels like I'm watching an episode in the middle of a season.
Or like jumped into like the Chrono Trigger Future Intertron. It's like HPMP restored, but you're still hungry.
Yeah.
It's like this sweet thing that you just sort of forget by the time you get out of.
Yeah. So it's definitely worth a watch. I enjoyed the movie very much. Loved all the
Blake,
characters.
how many popcorn kernels out of 7 would you give it, Blake? Because that's our new proprietary rating system.
I love it.
Like one of these popcorn kernels is half pop, so it's barely even a popcorn kernel. So I'm gonna go 4, and one of them's starting to blossom.
Nice.
Yeah, I would say that like the directors don't really have like a facility for shooting hand-to-hand action, of which most of the action in this movie is, except for the last fight. It's all like shaky. It's all an absurdly shaky cam to the point that it's almost like comical, or at least it was for me, because I couldn't tell what was going on in fights.
That reminds me, I forgot to mention that when you were talking about that, just to chime in a little bit here. I felt like the Black Widow fights from, what was it, Iron Man 2? Was a lot better than her fighting in this movie. Like the scenes. Anyway, but go on.
It's like you saw it play out. It like had an angle where it caught both people in that, but this it's like all right, there's movement and then there's a cut, then we have a different angle and there's movement and a cut, and the camera's always moving, even during like these cuts. And it's like, oh my god, it was a nightmare trying to follow. But besides that, I started to have fun around when they got on the airport tarmac. And then, like, it was just like, what would happen if these things met? And then, like, by the time that they were on the raft, I started to, like, get emotionally involved when I started to see the direction of the story. I liked the turn where it wasn't about more Winter Soldiers. I thought that would have been pretty lame, and I'm glad they went in a different direction. And I felt, the fight between, Bucky and Steve and what the fuck is his name, Tony, and like, it's been a while since I've like felt something in these movies, and that was sort of the cumulative product of seeing all the previous movies, and then it ends in kind of a fart where it tries to tie in like the premise of them fighting, and I was like, oh come on, these things don't matter. They clearly didn't matter.
Yeah.
Somebody should have died.
It almost feels to me like, like for me anyway in the movie, I had a really great time in the movie. It was really good, but it's almost like you're having a really good time with a significant other, and then you realize you don't have a condom at the end. So the whole build up was for nothing.
Well, maybe it produced a child. Or you're saying it didn't happen?
I'm saying it didn't happen. I'm saying that it's just like,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, it blue balled.
It blue balled for me. It was like at the end, and I'm left going.
Because
I
not
can't.
having a condom ever stopped you.
It's left me going. I can't wait till the next date, or for me, I can't wait till the next movie. So I am going. I'm looking forward. That is a good. That I think. With a series like this, you want the person leaving the theater to be like, you know what, I enjoyed that, but I really can't wait till the next one. So you got my money for your next movie. So it's a guaranteed, return customer, I think, by doing it. So the movie did its job, I feel.
Yeah, you can say that of all these properties.
Yeah.
Adequate at the very least.
Adequate and leaves you wanting to see more of the universe, where unlike another movie that left me going, oh, I kind of can't wait, but also I'm dreading it, and oh god, why did they butcher this series in its first movie? But that's that's a discussion for another time.
Well, this has been fun, guys.
Yeah, it's been loads of fun. So this has been a great, I guess this is a good point to stop here. I'd like to thank
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd like to thank Nelson, who is watching men bounce balls around a stadium, for coming on, giving us his thoughts. I'd like to thank Blake for coming on, giving us his thoughts on the movie. And, of course, as always, Jonathan, thank you for coming on here. And good
to meet you, Blake.
Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Please give us a good thumbing. We like that. And subscribe to the channel if you want.
Bouncing balls around.
Yeah, it's and if you want to catch more, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you want to see Nelson and Blake some more, please give us some good thumbings and some comments as well, and we can have them on again, and they will be on again.
What about it, Blake? You have anything to plug? You got a YouTube channel or a blog or something?
No.
All right.
You got you want anyone to play with you on? Do you have a PlayStation Network name or Xbox Live gamer tag?
Yeah, I'm currently on the PSN. I'm catching up on Destiny content right now. I'm Yofuzi, and that's spelled Yofuzi.
All right.
Well, there you go.
Well, guys, with that being said, have a good night or morning. Goodbye.